Hola, clase. Mr. Cappy back again for the final phase of the project. So far you have created a website, you've added flashcards to it, you've created vocabulary notes to show how to conjugate the verbs, and you just created a quiz testing the students on that. Now the final step is to create a story with a few questions to ask about that, much like what we've seen at the end of every one of our units this year. So what you're going to do, you can do it any way you want to on a piece of paper. You can do it in a Google document. You're going to create a 3-paragraph story using words and ideas we know. There's some good example ideas down here, but we want to keep the same basic format that we always use, which is we talk about the story and mention the situation. Then in the second paragraph, the character tries something, but it doesn't quite work out. And in the third paragraph, the character tries something slightly different, and the story ends. Whether it works out or not is completely up to you. But come up with some ideas based on stuff we did. Use verbs and words that come from the vocab you selected. There's some really good ideas down here about walking someplace and seeing something scary. You could talk about coming out, you're walking someplace when suddenly you see, something and you are afraid and you run away, or different things can happen there. There's lots of different options to choose from here. All right, we've done a few similar ones in the past for some of these, so they shouldn't be too hard to come up with. But you're going to take your time. The longest part is going to be you writing that story. So you're going to write a 3-paragraph story. Once you've created the story in Google Drive or on paper, however you want to write it, we're going to put it into a Google form. So we're going to go to Google Drive. We'll click New, More, and then Google Forms, just like we did last time. And we're going to go into the Google Form. So I have one here I created called Story. And we're going to do the same thing we did before, where we make the first question a name and make sure that it is a short answer so that the person can quickly and easily put their name in and get started. The second part we're going to add is we're going to add the title and description here. So for this one here, what you're going to do is you're going to put the title of your story in here. All right. So for me, it's El Lobo Triste, the sad wolf. And you're going to copy and paste your story into here. Or if you put it on paper, you're going to type it into here. Right, so there's my story here. Came out real nice looking. All right. And so what we do after that then, once we put the story in there, we're going to add some questions about it. So we should be creating 3 different questions about it. The first question should be a short answer question asking about what the story is about. Okay. So just a general, what is this story about? The second question should be a question asking a specific detail from the story. So for instance, my story is about a sad wolf going places. So if I go into the middle of my story and I see here that he went to McDonald's and he was hungry and he wanted to eat cheeseburgers. So what I might ask in this question is, what did Marco eat at the second restaurant? And again, we're asking these questions in English, expecting English answers. So that would be my second question. Followed by my third question, which should be something about how the story ended. So again, looking at the story that I created here, at the end of the story, Marco tricked Maria into eating his food by putting laxatives in it. So what I might ask at the end is, how did Marco manage to eat his pizza without any trouble from Maria? And then the person would be expected to answer that question by reading the story and answering the question. All right, so just 3 simple questions about there. One about what the story is about, one about a specific detail from some middle part of the story, and then finally a specific question asking about how the story ended. When you're done with that, we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to go back to your website. We're going to go back in to make sure we're on the review page 2 or review A page. We're going to insert from Drive. And again, we can use the recent box here and we'll put our story in there. You can place the story anywhere you want to, put any background you want onto it, and the story will show up like it is here. Once you have completed this story, you have completed this project. You can, for extra credit, do a second unit where you add 15 other verbs that you've already done and go back through and do all the same things over again. You make a set of flashcards for it, you make everything disappear. With the match game, you create a conjugated verbs thing for it, and then you do the quiz and the story again. All right, if you do that, the only thing you have to make sure you do is that you do want to add a page. So we go to Pages, and you add a second page, Review B, so that we have 2 different ones. And that is optional. It is not required. You are required to do the review A. For extra credit, you can make a second one. All right, and do all the same things with it. All right, adios, Class A. Hope your project goes really well.